What's going on, Imperials? It's Emperor Cubone here. A while back, we looked at which Pokémon could possibly replace the starters for each region, taking a grass, fire, and water type from each of the regions respectively. But if the regular types couldn't be available, we also looked at a couple of other possible replacements. And also, we asked the question, which type trios could replace the starter setup as well. But I've been wondering, what if you could keep all of the same starters, but give them different abilities? All of the starters regularly have Overgrow, Blaze, or Torrent, which are perfectly okay, but could be more diversified with existing abilities to help distinguish the starters from one another, and different from their hidden abilities as well. Now, these new abilities might not seem perfect for everyone out there, but they're just my opinions on the topic, so be sure to comment your own suggestions as well. Starting in Gen 1, we have the most recognizable starters and the ones that have been through the most changes, what with Megas and Gigantamaxing and just general sprite alterations over the years. So they'll be no strangers to getting new abilities, and for Venusaur, I'm leaning towards Corrosion. Right now, this exclusive ability allows the Pokémon to poison any type, including Steel and Poison itself. Now, unfortunately, this is only the status condition and doesn't suddenly make Sludge Bomb hit, but even this added bonus would help out a lot, since Venusaur is a pretty good tank and frequently sits and waits for poison to get the job done, while it heals itself in numerous ways. So allowing it to have that option on any incoming threat would help it even more. Plus, it has more moves to make use of it than Salazzle anyway. As for Charizard, the Y-Mega ability Drought is pretty useful, but maybe not the best fit for Charizard specifically. Really, I'm just thinking about longevity here, so I'm giving Charizard Filter, the ability that reduces super effective damage by 25%. This could help Charizard survive longer than it is currently able, and perhaps alleviate the devastating blow of losing half health if Stealth Rocks are on the field. As for Blastoise, I had a tough time not settling on something bland, but I think I've got it with Stamina. This, of course, is a great ability that boosts defense every time the Pokémon is hit, and with Blastoise having a hard shell, it made sense to me that its defenses should be highlighted even further. Now, the Johto starters haven't had a lot of attention since their debut, so let's change that, shall we? Meganium, to me, would be a suitable candidate for the Effect Spore ability. This ability makes it so that when the Pokémon is touched, it can leave the opponent with either sleep, poison, or paralysis, which is a pretty great passive benefit. It might not keep Meganium from dying so easily, but at the very least, it could be a nice final revenge. Typhlosion is another story, since it already has Flash Fire as a hidden ability, which is fine, but I personally think we can do better. Instead, I would give it Steam Engine, keeping the fire bonus from before, since it doesn't really need an immunity from something that it already resists, but also giving it a boost from water. That way, if Typhlosion does survive a water hit, it can outspeed the foe on the next turn. As for my favorite of the three, Alligator, while Sheer Force is a right fine ability, I'm going to give it Rough Skin. It appears to be a physical match with its clearly visible, scaly protrusions, which I imagine would indeed be rather sharp. So causing chip damage every time the foe touches you would be a trick that I would love to see Alligator have. The brilliant Hoenn starters are next, beginning with Sceptile. There's actually a lot that this particular plant-based dinosaur could match up with, but in my mind, one of the best might be Super Luck. This is a fairly simple ability that doesn't get a lot of publicity, but it basically just makes it so that critical hits are more likely to occur, essentially being a free focus energy. Pair that up with moves that already have a high crit ratio, and your Sceptile could be one-shotting a surprising amount of targets. On the other hand, Blaziken is a very difficult prospect, since it can already have the hidden ability Speed Boost, which is really pretty great. So I don't know that I'll be able to improve upon it with a different choice, but we've got to play the game, so I think maybe Technician could work. This of course powers up moves that are 60 base power and below, so Blaziken could still use high-powered moves if you wanted, but it could also make better use of other things like Flame Charge, Double Kick, Aerial Ace, and more. Again, it might not be better than Speed Boost, but it could still remain useful nonetheless. And of course, there's Swampert, who benefits from the excellent Water and Ground typing, resulting in only one weakness. But what if that wasn't the case? What if we could get rid of the Grass weakness by giving Swampert Sap Sipper? I can hear the cries of opposition now, saying that would overpower Swampert. And yeah, that probably would be the case. But I say we give it a shot anyway. Swampert doesn't always seem quite in the spotlight as the other two, so Sap Sipper could help nudge him up a bit. Sinnoh gave us Torterra, who I love, but does suffer from low speed and a lot of weaknesses that it could be struck with first. That's why I'm making the case that Torterra could heavily benefit from having the Thick Fat ability. The ground doesn't cancel out the fire weakness, and it makes ice 4 times effective, so giving an ability that would temper those extreme temperatures would greatly help this titanic turtle. As for Infernape, it's already a pretty strong Pokémon and can get the Iron Fist ability, but that's only with a few select moves, so an ability that might be more of an overall benefit would be Moxie. Infernape is quite adept already at swooping in and getting revenge kills with its quick speed, but if it also got a power boost every time that happened, this Molten Monkey would soon become unstoppable. Again, maybe a tad broken, but it would still be fun. And my favorite Pokemon of all time, Polian, is pretty well off, but there is the curious setup of Polian being primarily a special attacker, while most of its more useful moves are physical. So I say we give Polian Tough Claws, not only because it possesses 2 very tough metal claws, but it gives extra power behind moves that make physical contact. So powered up Aqua Jet, powered up Drill Peck and Metal Claw, moves that weren't as practical due to the imbalanced dichotomy suddenly become viable, all by giving Polian an ability that it could easily have. Unova offers up another trio that haven't been in the limelight as of late, but maybe we can fix that. Serperior is first, and everybody loves that it can have Contrary, but I never got that as much, since it has so few moves that can even work with. So to me, a solid replacement option might be Poison Heal. This is another coveted ability for the few that get it, but having Poison actually restore health instead of drain it away every turn is a valuable trait to have. And if it were given to Serperior, it might set it apart from the sea of other pure grass types out there. Inborn is already pretty well off with Reckless, but if we had to replace it, I think maybe it could get Mold Breaker. Seemingly a favorite among Gen 5 Pokemon, Mold Breaker negates other abilities, meaning Inborn wouldn't need to worry about Sturdy or Levitate or other painfully annoying abilities. And if at the very least it puts Inborn on more teams to get around certain abilities, that will increase its exposure, and maybe people won't look down on it so much then. Samurott is my favorite of the starters this generation, but it has almost the exact same problem as Polian last time, in that it gets a ton of great physical moves, but has a higher special stat. So this time, to fix the disparity, I suggest the Huge Power ability. This greatly boosts the attack stat so that Samurott can actually take full advantage of its moveset, and pack the proper punch behind what are arguably its best moves. The Kalos region is next, and to me, Chestnut seemed pretty obvious. I mean, sure, Bulletproof works great, but so would Iron Barbs. Basically just rough skin with a different name, Chestnut is all about being pointy. Hit just about anywhere on this walking fortress, and you'll be met with some serious spikes. So Iron Barbs not only just make sense, but would stack beautifully with Spiky Shield, meaning you couldn't even touch this thing. It's fair to say that Delphox has underwhelmed many in its time, but a part of that might have been the questionable Magician hidden ability. Instead, we can give it a better one, but stick with the magical theme, and give it Magic Guard. This ability protects the Pokémon from losing health outside of anything that causes direct damage, so nothing from weather or status conditions or anything. I'm not sure that is Delphox's biggest problem, but it could certainly help with keeping Delphox around and give it more of an impact in battle. Greninja presents yet another problem, because even though I don't much care for the Pokemon itself, it does have a superlative ability option in Protean. And people also like and use the Battle Bond ability as well. So do we even have to do this one? Okay, the producers are telling me yes, so what do we got? I'm just going to say Multiscale, which is the ability that lessens the damage taken when at full health. That's good enough, and could prevent a potential one-hit KO. But let's be honest, people are going to use the other ones anyway. Alola is next in line, and I was tempted to give Decidueye Overcoat, due to the obvious, but it wouldn't get the full benefit from the ability, since it is already a grass type and would not be affected by powder moves anyway. So, I'm going with Galewings. Even with the ability being nerfed and only working at full health, Decidueye does lose the flying typing from the first two upon evolution. So, gaining priority on flying moves could not only help keep the connections alive, but also give it more reason to hold on to those flying moves that it can learn. Incineroar can have Intimidate, which is pretty good, so what could possibly replace it? My personal opinion would be Sheer Force, which grants extra power to moves that would normally have secondary effects, at the cost of removing said possibilities. And of course, Incineroar has many such moves that could gain this increase in strength, like Fire Fang and Throat Chop. Then there's Primarina, and this lovely seal mermaid I feel would benefit most from gaining the ability Competitive. This sometimes forgotten ability gives the Pokemon the advantage of getting a huge boost in their special attack when any of its stats are lowered. It's basically a special variant of the more common Defiant. But Primarina already has great special prowess, so letting that grow when your enemies think they're weakening you would be a fitting trait for Primarina to have. But of course, the reason we waited so long was to include the Galar starters as well. So, Rillaboom was fairly easy, since I figured that it would have Guerrilla Tactics anyway. When I first heard about the ability, I assumed it was custom made for this giant primate percussionist. But since it's not, let's fix that. Rillaboom having a free choice band would honestly be pretty scary, even if it was stuck in just one move, since it's already frighteningly strong. Cinda Race is next, and while it supposedly can have a protein knockoff, I would give it Speed Boost. Other lesser Pokemon make great use of upping their speed every turn, so giving it to this furry footballer not only makes sense with its overall design, but could absolutely make Cinderace even more threatening. And finally, we have Inteleon, who is a big, slender, lizard secret agent thing. Though it's kind of hard to match it up with anything specifically. It can already get Sniper, which is really on brand. But I'm thinking maybe you could get Dry Skin? Sure, why not? I hear you now saying, why would you give Inteleon a fire weakness? Well, you wouldn't, it would only be neutral, and it would restore health if hit by a water move. This would boost Inteleon's capabilities for rain teams, and besides, it's not like the opposing trainer is going to be using a fire type against your water starter anyway. But an immunity can always help. Those are just my opinions anyway. But that's all of the new abilities that I would give the starter Pokemon of every region. Which previously unused abilities would you assign? Let me know down in the comments. Also be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And we'll see you around next time!